Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. Uh, I start by to share some updates on news. So I will start with uh, President Biden's uh, speech on banning Russian energy sector. So today is March the 8th, 2022. Welcome back. So let's start with Biden's speech.
Banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war. We made this decision in close consultation with our allies and our partners around the world, particularly in Europe, because a united response to Putin's aggression has been my overriding focus, to keep all NATO and all of the EU and our allies totally united. We're moving forward with this ban, understanding that many of our European allies and partners may not be in a position to join us. The United States produces far more oil domestically than all the European countries combined. In fact, we're a net exporter of energy. So we can take this step when others cannot. But we're working closely with Europe and our partners to develop a long-term strategy to reduce their dependence on Russian energy as well. Our teams are actively discussing how to make this happen, and today we remain united. We remain united in our purpose to keep pressure mounting on Putin and his war machine. This is a step that we're taking to inflict further pain on Putin, but there will be cost as well here in the United States. I said I would level with the American people from the beginning. And when I first spoke to this, I said defending freedom is going to cost. It's going to cost us as well in the United States. Republicans and Democrats understand that. Republicans and Democrats alike have been clear that we must do this. Over the last week, I've spoken with President Zelensky several times to hear from him about the situation on the ground and to consult and continue to consult with our European allies and about U.S. support for Ukraine and Ukrainian people. Thus far, we've provided more than $1 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. Shipments of defensive weapons are arriving in Ukraine every day from the United States, and we, the United States, are the ones coordinating the delivery of our allies and partners of similar weapons, from Germany to Finland to the Netherlands. We're working that out. We're also providing humanitarian support for the Ukrainian people, both those still in Ukraine and those who have fled safely to a neighboring country. We're working with humanitarian organizations to surge tens of thousands of tons of food, water, and medical supplies into Ukraine, and with more on the way.
Okay, so that's the sanctions.
Having excellent vision isn't just about how well you see.
Biden is imposing on. So I have a couple of videos. I will come back to it later at the end of the reading. So that's the very serious measure Biden is taking, and it could impact our pockets too. It's already the gas price is changing here, almost like $4, close to $4. In some states, it's more than $4. So the war, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is impacting us here at home, also impacting back home, especially in Ethiopia. Wheat price, oil price, people cannot buy some basic items. It's getting expensive just to buy basic food supplies. So, it's 3 liter of gallon of oil in Ethiopia is now close to 1,000 Ethiopian birr. So I don't know how they're gonna afford it. And the prime minister was talking with some kind of leaves on his hand. Just eat this, just add a little bit salt, blah blah. Instead of tackling the inflation seriously, he's joking on Ethiopians. Really, it's a joke. And Ethiopians also, instead of challenging the system, they are engaged in internal fighting, insulting each other, and being enemy against each other instead of challenging the system. So the Ethiopians are gonna suffer for a while. So this Biden ban on Russian oil is a very serious one. Really, it's a very serious one. Unless the United States uh, get help from Saudi Arabia or this Gulf state, or maybe from Venezuela. Venezuela has a lot of oil, so uh, unless they control the price surge in the United States, it could impact uh, the election of Democrats in coming years. So they have to be serious to control the price. The Republicans already, you know, and their supporters are playing politics already with the price surge and blaming President Biden for this. So Biden, you have to get serious and bring oil from somewhere to control this price surge, unless you're going to be blamed for the cause of Democrats' re-election. Putin also uh, released some executive order banning some import, export on certain products for the year 2022. This is according to Russian state media. Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued an order to restrict or prohibit imports and exports of certain products and raw materials from Russia in 2022. But a list of those products that will be restricted and or prohibited has yet to be defined by the government. Russian state media RIA reports, quoting the decree on special foreign economic measures aimed to ensure Russia's security. The government will have to define the list of states to be covered by these decisions within 2 days, RIA says, but adds this restriction will not cover products or raw materials being transported by citizens for their personal needs. Putin's ban comes as US President Joe Biden announced Tuesday that his administration is banning Russian energy imports, including oil, natural gas, and coal, in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So this is just like about 30 minutes ago from Russia state media banning import and export of certain uh, materials in and out of Russia. So some other updates on Ukraine-Russian issue. Third round of talk conducted but didn't stop war. They didn't stop the war. They discussed, except they, just a little bit of on ceasefire for humanitarian corridor and the civilian evacuation. Even that one is not maintained. Turkey, Erdogan, president of Turkey, is planning to mediate between Russia and Ukraine on its soil in coming days. So try to bring the two parties together in Turkey. The other ugly thing we are witnessing from this conflict is the preventing non-Ukrainians from escaping from this danger. This is the ugly side of this war. They allow Ukrainians to exit, but prevented uh, students, especially from Africa and India, from escaping the danger. So the Ukrainian authorities discriminated. That's a discrimination, and is also a violation of international law. But some students left the country, but this was reported. This was clear discrimination against non-Ukrainians by Ukrainian authorities for those, not allowing to leave the country from this bombardment. So shame on them, shame on Ukrainian authority when the whole world is standing with them and helping them. Now they are engaged in discrimination. So that is reported. That's ugly. That's ugly. That's ugly part of this. At least 2 million refugees have now fled Ukraine since the beginning of the invasion. Also, at least 21 civilians, including 2 children, were killed in a Russian airstrike in the Ukrainian city of Sumy. This is only one city. 21 civilians killed by airstrike, including 2 children. So the deaths and the injuries are, clearly not identified and reported. The Ukrainian authority give higher figure, the Russian authority give a different figure. So there is no independent confirmation of this casualty report. The other thing is in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, the authorities engaged in mass arrest of Balderas members and Balderas supporters. This happened especially after the celebration of Adwa commemoration. And if you watch the videos on that day, these individuals from Addis Ababa and the surrounding insulted the mayor, Adene Chabibe, and they did everything on that day. So this may be a revenge for that. So there is a report of mass arrest of Balderas members and supporters in Addis Ababa, especially, and some other cities. So far, I think about 34 Balderas supporters and members were taken into custody. So that is a serious issue, including the price inflation and many challenges in that country. Okay, let's continue to other news. Thank you again for coming back. United Nations human rights officials say just more than 1,200 civilians casualties have been recorded in the Ukraine, with 406 people killed, noting it is difficult to identify the actual number of deaths and injuries, a UN spokesman said on Monday. So this is in general in that in Ukraine, around 1,200 civilian casualties and 406 people killed. The World Health Organization says that there have been 9 attacks affecting health facilities, healthcare workers, and ambulance since February 24, according to Stephen, United Nations spokesperson. Earlier Monday, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights reported the 406 civilian kills, killed, but also acknowledged that the real figures are likely considerably higher. This one is good. Foreign students affected by invasion get offered to continue their studies in Hungary. This is a positive news. Hungary has offered foreign students whose studies were disrupted as Russia invades Ukraine an opportunity to continue their education at Hungarian universities, authorities have said. Hungary is offering foreign students who escaped #Ukraine-Russian war, India, Nigeria, and other African countries to continue their studies at Hungarian universities, tweeted Dr. Attila Demko, the head of Hungary's Center for Geopolitics. All third country refugees, mostly Africans, were accepted without problems and repatriated if they wished so, Demko added in his Sunday tweet. Some Nigerian evacuees from Ukraine have said they are relieved to be back home, even though they anticipate a return to the Eastern European country currently repelling Russian troops. Credit CNN. This is also good news in Addis Ababa from U.S. Embassy. U.S. launched Kafuta, a $60 million investment to lift up Ethiopian youth. The United States, through the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, launched a new investment of $60 million, 3.1 billion birr, to lift up millions of vulnerable youth across Ethiopia. Over the next 5 years, the new USAID Kafuta activity, which means to elevate in Amharic, will help youth in 18 cities find meaningful jobs and expand their voice in Ethiopia's civil discourse. This activity will also ensure that youth have better access to essential services such as banking, family planning, and healthcare. The launch event for USAID Kafuta activity was held at Friendship Park in Addis Ababa. At the event, several young Ethiopians took the stage to describe both their hopes for and in-depth involvement in designing the new American investment. USAID has not only engaged youth in Kafuta design from the start, but is committed to ensuring this new activity will be youth-owned, youth-led, and youth-managed. In attendance were Dr. Ergoge Tesfaye, the Honorable Minister of Women and Social Affairs, representatives from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Labor and Skills, and Ambassador Tracy A. Jacobson, the Charge d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy, Addis Ababa. Youth across Ethiopia face a variety of social, political, and economic challenges. Each young person without the promise of a well-paying job, a voice that is heard in their community, or access to a family doctor hinders Ethiopia's prosperity. To help youth achieve their own prosperous futures, the USAID Kafuta activity will work at the grassroots level with youth-serving organizations, private sector businesses, and civil society. For example, the activity will establish an innovative youth-led and youth-managed empowerment fund that is projected to grow to over $20 million by 2026, which will finance youth enterprise startups. The activity will also support career centers in higher education institutions and community-based youth centers to reach over 700,000 youth with skills training such as digital literacy and entrepreneurship training. The 2 million youth targeted by the life-changing USAID CAFETA activity currently live across 17 secondary cities in semi-urban communities of Ethiopia and Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Ultimately, empowering the country's young population will help propel Ethiopia's future further forward toward peace, prosperity, and self-reliance. So, thank you, U.S. Uh, aid or U.S. State Department or the U.S. government in general for helping Ethiopia's youth. And I know the U.S. also helping to combat drought and other related issues in Ethiopia. The last time they provided about $39 million for the challenge for Ethiopia's challenge facing drought. So we appreciate the United States supporting the Ethiopian people, and we need more now to tackle the Ethiopians' challenge in inflation in the basic food necessities. It's horrible, horrible. Basic food price is beyond control. So we might need in that area too. We appreciate your help. Okay. Court grants police 14 more days to remand and investigate Associated Press journalist. Investigating police in Addis Ababa were given 14 more days by the federal first instance Arada branch to remand and investigate journalist Amir Aman and cameraman Thomas Ngida, who were working for Associated Press (AP) by the time of their arrest in December last year. During the hearing on Friday, March the 4th, During the hearing on Friday, or 04 February, the police requested 14 days to complete police investigation, but the court overruled and requested the order the police to complete the investigation file and adjourn the hearing for today's time. For today, the investigating police presented the file to the court today and secured the additional 14 days to keep the journalist under its custody and continue the investigation. During previous hearings, the police said that the works sending electronic device taken from the journalist to the National Intelligence and Security Agency, NISS, for investigation were already completed and that they were waiting for NISS to send additional technical evidence against the journalist. The police say they are investigating the journalist for suspected links to terrorist organization, among others, after in mid-December last year, the Federal Police Commission announced that it arrested 2 journalists and a cameraman for allegedly promoting the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, on an international level. The journalists who were paid large sums of money to promote Shane, a term used by government officials to refer to OLA in the West Shore zone, are being investigated under police custody, the statement reads. Addisu Mulune, who was working with ruling party-affiliated Fana Broadcasting Corporation by the time of his arrest, has since been released. The court adjourned the next hearing on journalist Amir Aman and cameraman Thomas Ingeda until 18th of March 2022. So that's a horrible condition, horrible treatment of journalists from the man who promised for freedom of press when he came to power in 2018. But a lot of things now happening under him. Law and order is broken, and people even released by the court, rearrested by Abiy Ahmed security forces. So law and order is broken, and it's very tough in Ethiopia now. Okay, this one is the clash happened in Amara region. Clash between armed Fano local security result in casualties in Mota city. Officials blame unidentified armed group for deaths of security officers. Clash broke out on Sunday, March the 6th in Mota town in East Gojam zone of Amara regional state, leaving unknown number of injured, report said. Tension was running high in the town following the arrest by government security forces of the leader of the local Fano, an informed armed group from the Amara region, according to Wazema Radio. Sunday confrontation between Fano members in Mota town and the federal security force was caused by a request made to the latter to tap ongoing military training for Fano members. In a statement it released this morning, Mota city administration said that 4 security forces were killed by unidentified armed forces on Sunday. According to the report on Wazema, however, the clash preceded the refusal of an armed leader of Fano in Mota town, who was later on arrested. Subsequently, clashes broke out. Quoting residents of the town, the report said that at least 6 people were injured in the shootout, which followed the deployment of additional security forces. The town has since regained stability. Similar incidents happened in Gundewain, Yejube, and Bebiwun Waradas in the regional state, according to the report, where there were confrontation between regional government forces and members of Fano. The tension between Fano and the regional government forces is a great concern, the report said, adding, clandestine military training of Fano members are starting to taking place due to fears of government's intention to dismantle the Fano structure. The Mota city administration on its part issued a statement this morning stating that 4 security forces were killed in an ambush by unidentified security armed forces on Sunday. The city administration added that the armed group who operates in the guys of Fano mobilizing from other Woradas and launched the attack on the town. The armored group forcefully hijacked a vehicle that belonged to the Ethiopian Electric Power Authority and seized weapons from a police officer in Ayan Brahan, Kabale of Hulat Iju in Ines Warada, the city administration said. The statement listed the names of 4 members of government security forces who were killed while they were on duty protecting the city. Additional police officers and militias were injured, the statement said, and concluded by expressing condolences to the family of the deceased. The city administration called on its residents, particularly the youth, to stand by the security forces in being vigilant and take action to prevent the conspiracy that intended to destabilize the city. So serious issue in that area between uh, Fano and the government, the regional administration. Very serious issue. They created uh, Fano to fight PDF. Now they are facing challenge on dismantling it because it's heavily armored and outnumbered and challenging. And its Fano is conducting so many illegal activities, even crossing to Oromia region into Wallaga area, and conducting other atrocities on Oromo Wallos. So it's a very challenging group now, and the government can't control it. Now they are fighting it to dismantle it. Egypt displeased with Sudan over Russia military base. Egypt is displeased with military authorities in Sudan for welcoming the establishment of Russian military base on Sudanese territories. The site, quoting unnamed Egyptian sources, are saying that the Egyptian decision-making circles concerned with Sudanese what they considered misleading practices by a deputy head of Sudan's ruling council, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, during his visit to Cairo last weekend, where he met with the head of the General Intelligence Service, Abbas Kamal. The paper said Egyptian officials were surprised by Dagalo's statement after his return to Khartoum from Moscow, in which he welcomed the establishment of a Russian military base on his country's territory, which Cairo considers a threat to the Red Sea security. Last week, Dagalo, also known as Himdit, held a press conference at Khartoum airport after an 8-day visit to Russian capital Moscow, during which he told reporters if the establishment of a military base in Sudan is in the country's interest and does not threaten its national security, there is nothing wrong with getting along with Russia or anyone else. However, sources stressed that Egyptian authorities oppose the establishment of any foreign bases near the country's border or areas of influence and interests. Officials in Cairo demanded Dagalo and the Sudanese officials provide clarifications about the statement regarding the Russian naval bases. The agreement signed between Moscow and Khartoum provides for the establishment of a Russian naval facility in Sudan capable of receiving nuclear-powered warships near Port Sudan and capable of accommodating up to 300 personnel, credit Middle East Monitor. So Egypt is worried about Russian coming to the border. So this is from U.S. State Department press release celebrating women around the world on International Women's Day. On International Women's Day, the United States is proud to join the global community in celebrating the achievement and the contribution of women and girls from around the world, while simultaneously recognizing the barriers they continue to face. The United States stands firm in its long-standing commitment to advancement of gender equality, gender equity, and equality, and the empowerment of women and girls in all their diversity. Today, the world is facing several significant challenges that disproportionately impact women and girls, including the climate crisis, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and humanitarian emergencies and conflicts in Ukraine, Ethiopia, Yemen, and in so many other places, including the significant curtailment of the rights of women and girls in Afghanistan. The United States recognizes that in order to adequately address these pressing challenges, we must focus on the needs of women and girls and ensure they are empowered participants in all sectors of life. That is why I am proud to preview that the President's fiscal year 2023 budget will request approximately 2.6 billion for foreign assistance program that promotes gender equity and equality worldwide, more than double the amount requested for gender programs in fiscal year 2022 budget. Excuse me. Sorry, this alarm. This include a request for $200 million for the Gender Equity and Equality Action Fund. Additionally, the United States is taking several concrete steps to formalize and accelerate policy efforts to promote the rights of women and girls around the globe, including through the first ever U.S. national strategy on gender equity and equality. This strategy formalizes gender equity and equality as a primary foreign policy and national security priorities for the United States. In certain actions of International Women's Day and our time-honored commitment to advancing the status of women and girls, I am proud that today the Department of State announced the awardees of the 2022 International Women of Courage Award. I will host the 16th annual IWOS Award in virtual ceremony on Monday, March 14 on state.gov. That is Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. This annual award recognizes and celebrates women in all their diversity who have dedicated their lives to promoting human rights, gender equity and equality, peace, justice, the rules of law, and accountability, often at a great personal risk or sacrifices. From promoting the rights of LGBTQ plus persons in Nepal to preventing and responding to all forms of gender-based violence in Liberia, to being the first woman foreign minister of Libya, and so much more. The recipients of the 2022 IWOC award truly exemplify what it means to be courageous. Find more information about the 2022 IWOC Awards at www.states.gov, Secretary of State International Woman of Courage Award. The United States remain deeply committed to support women and girls' economic security, preventing and responding to all forms of gender-based violence, increasing their access to health, education, justice, human rights, and equality under the law, and humanitarian relief, advancing women's political leadership and decision-making in all areas, including addressing climate change and security challenges, developing science and technology, and promoting democracy. To our 2022 International Women of Courage and all the courageous women and girls around the world, I thank you for your strength, leadership, and effort to make the world a more just, peaceful, and free place for us all. That is a praise statement from Secretary State Anthony Blinken. So happy, I also say happy Women's International Day. I didn't know there is Women's International Day. So it's, we are learning new things every other day. So that's all from update on reading. Couple of short videos, then I will conclude today's presentation. Thank you again. There we go. The first one is from UNHCR on Ethiopia. Michelle Bachelor, I think. There we go.
The Geneva-based Human Rights Council gathered on Monday. As the 49th regular session continued, the UN Human Rights Chief, Michelle Bachelet, updated the Council on the situation in Ethiopia. In the war-torn Tigray region, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said the context had deteriorated in the past few months.
I am alarmed by the growing humanitarian crisis. Hostilities and insecurity continue to block the delivery of humanitarian supplies into Tigray by the Semera-Abala-Mekele road, which has not been accessible since 15 December last year.
The Office of the UN Commissioner received reports of wide-scale human rights violations and recorded cases of gang rapes, deaths in airstrike attacks, and severe damage to health facilities. If the Ethiopian parliament lifted wartime state of emergency last month, efforts continue in order to reach a ceasefire. In the meantime, an estimated 4 out of every 5 people in the Tigray region were food insecure, where half of pregnant and breastfeeding women were malnourished, according to the World Food Programme.
Okay, one more. This may be an advertisement.
Yeah, I'm bad to the bone. I ain't sure what you've been told. Yeah, I'm bad. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visited Riyadh on Tuesday to hold talk with the Saudi leadership on various bilateral issues. Upon his arrival, el-Sisi met with Prince Mohammed and was later expected to meet with Saudi Arabia's King Salman to discuss bilateral relationship between the two countries, as well as the latest developments in Ukraine. Both Egypt and Saudi Arabia last week joined the likes of United Arab Emirates and other 138 other countries to vote in favor of a United Nations General Assembly resolution demanding Russia halt its invasion of Ukraine and withdraw all the troops. The move by the three regional power brokers came just 2 days after they signed onto an Arab League statement that did not condemn Russia and instead called for diplomacy and avoidance of escalation and consideration of the humanitarian situation. Official sources also indicated that the two leaders will also discuss the controversial Ethiopia recognizes dam that has been at the center stage of dispute between Addis Ababa and Cairo, together with Sudan.
Okay. So that's the update I have from Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for joining me. And, you know, I will follow up with other international news and news from Ethiopia. I will come back hopefully very soon to update you. So thank you again for joining me. I hope the United States will consider more help to alleviate the challenges Ethiopians facing, especially the inflation, and also the Ethiopians maybe think wisely and join their force against the prime minister, joking and telling the people to eat leaves just to the problems they are facing, the inflation. People are suffering, and he's joking with the leaves and telling them to eat leaves, and so that is not the real leadership. And the Ethiopians, instead of fighting, insulting each other, they should come back and come together and seriously consider the leadership of Prosperity Party and what they are doing in that country, and how far the country is, going further into in danger. The people are incapable of buying any basic items, suffering. So that's all I have for today. Thank you, and see you next time. Be safe and so long.